and also the new researchers, and also those under the BTech program as well. Okay, so bear with me probably for the next 45, 1 hour or so. And if you have any concern or queries, you can forward to me. And we will also be sharing this recorded version of this Zoom session with all of you later. And whatever necessary forms that you'll need to furnish in order to complete your registration, I will follow up with the email later today or tomorrow the latest. Okay, all right. Okay, first of all, department safety policy, right? In our department, we have this safety policy as required by OSHA. OSHA stands for Office of Safety, Health and Environment. So it is required for every department to have a safety policy for. But for the Department of Civil and Environmental, we are actually adopting this safety policy by the faculty. All right. Okay, this is a Faculty of Engineering Safety and Health Policy. As you can see on your screen now, okay, this policy has been recently endorsed by the Dean of Faculty on the 13th of November last year. So it's still valid until probably end of this year or next, okay? So for the department itself, we don't have our own safety policy. So we have adopted as advised by the OSHA to adopt the faculty's safety policy, as you can see on the screen now, right? Okay, so for the department safety and health statement, okay, this is also one of the requirement for our audit purposes. Okay, OSHA wants us to have our own safety and health statement. We have come out, our department safety committee have came out with this health statement, as you can see on the screen now, right? Okay, which is to ensure a safe and healthy environment for all our lab users, good safety and health practices to be in place. And then also the department is committed to comply with all the safety and health guidelines and legislation as stipulated by Ministry of Manpower. So we hope that with this health and safety statement by the department, we have a small role to play, okay, to save lives and prevent injuries through excellence in safety and health management for all our lab users, okay? So whether you are doing these experimental or even numerical project under your respective PI. Okay, for today's program, we have came up with a simple itinerary, okay? We have this structure and concrete lab emergency evacuation plan, fire extinguishers, first aid, on safety signs and notices, safety apparatus, PPE, personal protective equipment, housekeeping, especially on general work area, lab operation and administration matters, any questions and queries. And then later on, I will touch on the purchase of safety shoe and how to go about doing the measurement of sizes and making of payment for everybody, okay? From FYP to researchers and also those on BTech program. Okay. As you can see on the screen, I hope everybody can see it quite clearly. Okay, this is more or less, okay, it's not to scale. Okay, this is more or less how the layout of this our structure and concrete lab is situated in this EW1 building. Okay, EW1 stands for Engineering Workshop 1. Okay, level 01 and level 4 is number 1. Okay, so I can see in this floor plan, okay, the simple floor plan, there are some high risk area demarcated in red zone, medium risk area in this yellow zone, and those low risk area in the green zone. All right. The others are all these common lab spaces area. Okay, and you can see that in some of the rooms, okay, like for instance over here, the control staff room, they are number 2. Testing room, there are 6, and staff room, there are 6. Okay, this is indication of the recently implemented occupancy regulation because of the COVID. Okay, so that means if there's a 6 here outside here, we place this 6 occupancy, meaning at any one time, this particular room or space can only cater to only maximum 6 person. Okay, all right. Okay, in some areas there are 20. Okay, this is a quite big area where we have our year 2 lab classes. And then also over here, you can see that 10. Okay, this is for the general area for the molding, storage, and concrete specimen. Okay, and the others, most of them mostly either 2 or 3, okay, or 6. All right. Okay, so for those of you who have not been into the lab here, okay, especially those BTech students and also new researchers, so you probably take some time for you to familiarize yourself with the surrounding area here, because our lab is quite big, right? Okay, we have 2 main entrances here. Okay, this is where you came in from the road. Okay, all right. And then also on the other side, we have a secondary entrance. Okay, small entrances. And then also you can enter via hydraulic lab from here. Okay, all right. So our lab, unlike other labs in other faculties or department, they only have one main door where you enter and exit from. Okay, like so for us, I think due to the nature of the activities and research work that is going on in the lab, so most of them are actually high loading testing, where we house all our huge frames in this building, and then we have very high ceiling, unlike those normal rooms that you can find in other faculties. Okay, right. And also in this layout area, you can see that those apparatus, okay, with regards to safety, like extinguisher, hose reel, alarm, okay, they can be found in some in the strategic area around the lab here. Okay, from the signage you can see in the layout. All right. Okay, for those BTech students, especially where you have your experience in the industries, okay, so probably you may have at one point of time has gone to some firefighting training or course and so on. So you may be familiar with fire extinguisher, but unlike those new FYP, I think most of you have not even handled a fire extinguisher. So this slide will more or less covers the part where we how to identify the types of extinguisher and how to operate the extinguisher in terms of exigencies. Okay, right. Okay, most of the extinguisher we have in structure and concrete lab is the kind over here that you can see there, dry powder, the blue color. All right. So for the those who have not operated or have the opportunity to use this fire extinguisher before, so just go through the simple step, okay? In case there's a, okay, while working in the lab, there's a fire, so at least you know how to operate the extinguisher, okay? All right, over here you can see that there's a pin, right, over here. Okay, this pin is being locked by cable tie here, okay? This is actually to prevent abuse or accidental compression of this handle, Okay, this is to protect the extinguisher so that the content is still valid and then is able to be used. All right. And over here you can see there's a gauge here. All right. The needle is actually is located at the green label of the gauge here. Okay. That means this shows that the content of this extinguisher, okay, the content, the CO2 content is still in the usage capacity, okay. And you see at the bottom signage here, okay, there's a label, okay, sticker here, and indicated, okay, it has been serviced, okay, last January 2020. Okay, in fact, actually, this picture was taken from last January. So this extinguisher is subjected for annual servicing by the contractors from the office of OFM. Yeah, last time they used to call it OED. Okay, so no worries. Most of our extinguishers are actually in service. Okay, they have been inspected and serviced regularly every year. All right. All right, the one we have here is a dry powder. So the weight is around 2.5 kilo. I say not that heavy. Most of you should be able to handle it. And this type of extinguisher normally is covers fires resulting from solids like wood, paper, cloth, etc. Flammable liquids, gas, and electrical equipment. Okay. So in our lab, we don't have those type of extinguisher that constitute of foam anymore, okay, because it's quite messy. All right. So the next slide will show you some simple procedures and steps on how to use the fire extinguisher in case there is a fire. All right. Now, some of you may be staying in some room, especially the researchers. You will be located in some room of the building, and then in the room there should be a fire extinguisher. Now, in any exigencies, let's say, for instance, for example, you happen to have a small incipient fire at one corner of the room. So this step will guide you on how to use the fire extinguisher to try to at least, first of all, to fight the fire when it is still small. Okay, all right. Now just need to remember these four letters. Okay, the first one is a P. Okay, this first letter P stands for pull out the pin. Okay, remember in the previous slide I show you, okay, there's a pin which has been locked by a cable tie. You need to remove the cut off the cable tie and pull out the pin. Okay, now the reason being also is to prevent for accidental discharge of the content, dry powder. Okay, so there may be some abuse and so on. Right, so this is to actually more to ensure that someone did not accidentally press the handle, okay, and then to release the CO2. All right. The next one is A, letter A. So this is actually for A is actually to aim at the base of the fire. So when you fight the fire, try to aim at the base of fire, okay, because this is where the fuel source is located, okay. Next one is S, is to squeeze the lever above the handle. Okay, this is to slowly release. It will release to stop the flow. Okay, is when you have completed compressing the handle. Okay, in some cases, some extinguisher they came with button. Okay, the design with button instead of lever. So we have not seen those kind of extinguisher in our laboratory. So most of our extinguishers are actually came with handle. Okay, all right. So remember when you twist the lever above the handle, right? This will release the CO2. Okay, so if you want to stop releasing, let's say you have managed to control the fire or stop the fire, okay, you can release the flow. All right. The next one is S, is actually to sweep from side to side. So while holding the fire extinguisher, compressing the handle down, right? You move from side to side towards the fire and aim at the lowest point, okay, which is at the base of the fire. All right. So continue sweeping until all fires are extinguished and look out for any signs of reigniting. Okay. in some cases, okay, you try to fight the fire. Okay, you thought that you have already covered everything, it's safe enough, but then there may be some hot sludge, okay, hiding somewhere at one corner, so it can just reignite another fire. So make sure to look out for these signs. All right. And if necessary, repeat the above procedure, okay, and then have the site inspected by the fire department. Okay. Once we have already used the extinguisher, okay, you need to place it, when it's empty, place it on the floor, okay, for collection and reservicing by the contractor. Okay, so remember the simple step to operate this fire extinguisher. Okay, remember the 4 letters PASS. Okay, as you can see also earlier from the slide earlier of our EW1 layout, there are some location where we indicate the position of our first aid boxes. Okay, for in our lab, we have a total of 3 first aid boxes, and one of these boxes, like you can see in this slide here, can cater for about 20 to 25%. So don't have to worry, you'll feel very safe because we have 3 boxes of this kind of first aid, which can be used to service any minor injuries. Okay, let me repeat again, minor injuries. Okay, of course, for those serious cases, we refer you to the UHC, okay, Unity Health Clinic, right? And this first aid box, they will always be in lock position by a cable tie. So if any item is being used or taken out from this box, okay, it should be indicated somewhere in the box. There is a form to indicate that it has some of the item, what that item that is being used, okay. And then the first aider from our department, they will go around and then check and then ensure that whatever is being used, okay, it should be replaced. All right. Okay. Our lab over here, we conducted very high loading tests. Okay, some of our loading frames as high as 2,000 ton capacity actuators, and also we have 1,000 ton capacity actuators. Besides the smaller ones, we have 1,000 ton capacity, 500 kilonewton, 3,000 capacity. So in some areas where we have this actuator to conduct very high loading tests, okay, we are strictly abiding by the MOM regulation, okay. Although our lab is situated in a building, but if you're conducting that kind of activity or test, so you require to put on hard hat, safety helmet, okay. So you'll be able to see some of these signs, not all, some of these signs in those loading frames, indicating that, okay, the moment you step into that testing zone, okay, whether you are testing or you're just taking data, as long as you're involved in the activities, you need to put on your hard hat, safety shoe, and so on. All right. Okay, next is the safety apparatus. Okay, what we have in the lab for all our lab users, okay, it's a PPE, stand for personal protective equipment, and they are safety glasses, helmet, respirator, and 95, safety shoe. I come later to how we go about getting this safety shoe for you, okay, and earplugs, okay, right. Of course, beside this, you still need to have your mask on all the time when you work in the lab, yeah. Okay. If some of you may not have the chance to use N95 mask before, okay, I have this slide to help you to go through the step on how to put on correctly N95 mask, okay, because as you know, N95 mask, they have 2 band, okay, one is upper band and one lower band, okay. All right, see here, you need to wash your hand before you put on the mask, okay. select a suitable N95 mask that fits well. Okay, in the lab, we have two models of N95 mask, which is the 8110 and 8120. Okay, so in order to know which size of mask fits you well, once you register with me in the lab, you will be asked, in case you are working with cement and free silica, you will be asked to go to USC to take a fit test, okay, of this N95 respirator. Okay, the lab will provide the respirator, and you need to submit the form, and you need to get an appointment from USC for the date to do the fit test. Okay. Number 3 is how they hold the cap from the front. You can see that there are two bands over here, right? As mentioned earlier. All right. Unlike the normal mask, the COVID mask that we are using now. Okay. It is to stretch and then put on, and then make sure you use your two fingers on top of your nose to press it down to make sure it's airtight. All right. Housekeeping. Okay. As I mentioned, our lab is quite big. Okay, the space is quite big, and then there are so many lab users working in the lab. Okay, and housekeeping is also part of safety. So we need everybody to cooperate and then work together to ensure that you tidy up and clean up your respective work area before end of the day where you stop your work. Okay, right? So if everybody plays the part, I'm sure that we can have a very good tidy work area, which is will be safe and conducive for everybody. All right. Okay, the next slide, I will cover the laboratory operation. Okay, okay, you can see over here. Okay, lab operation methods. You can approach Mr. Stanley Wong first. Okay, if he's not around, then you can approach me. Okay. So for lab safety methods, okay, you can approach me first. Okay. Because there are certain days I will not be in office as I'm working on part-time now. I may not be in office at certain days. So when I'm not around, you can just approach Mr. Stanley Wong if you have any issue on safety. Okay. And you can also drop me an email so I can just follow up. Okay. All right. Now, all users of the lab, you need to be registered. Okay. Need to be registered, and we need to do a project risk assessment for you. For those doing experimental project and also numerical, we need to do a risk assessment. Okay. So in order to be registered, first of all, you need to carry out discussion and assessment of the project and to fill up the lab user registration form. Okay. For this, you can approach your respective PI safety lead. Okay. Later on, I show the slide. Okay, respective PI and who is the safety lead. I'm sure by now, I think your PI has already introduced you to your safety lead or group mentor to assist you in this part here. Okay, right? In this registration form, you need to give us the detail of your personal particulars, project details, and also the task or scope of work that you need to do in the lab. Okay, machine, respective machine, testing machine to be used, and whether we need to use chemical and so on and so on. Okay, all this we need to know because this will decide what sort of online training or module that you need to take later on. Okay, I'll come to that later on. Okay, all right. So for the project risk assessment, okay, I will do the risk assessment based on the lab user registration form that you submit to me. Okay, based on all the info and necessary details that you furnish in your LUR, I will try to conduct a risk assessment for your respective project. And this risk assessment form, which I will show you a sample later on, the template later on, should be endorsed by your lab supervisor. Okay. Okay, this is mandatory and required before any project is allowed to begin. Okay, because should anything happen, any incident or accident happen due to the work that you conduct in the lab, okay, your supervisor will be responsible, okay, beside yourself and those involved in the project, okay. Right. Oops, sorry. Okay, for lab projects involving the use of chemicals, okay, you all need to familiarize yourself with the types of chemical that you plan to use, okay, in terms of usage and also the necessary precaution and guideline for safe handling, storage, and also disposal, okay. So in this respect, you need to refer to the safety data sheet, SDS, of the chemicals that you intend to use, okay. Okay, I mentioned earlier that you need to complete or take some online modules, okay. So this online module is available under OSHE website, Luminous, okay, all right. Okay, this is how this the risk assessment template looks like, okay. We have the name of the lab, location, last date of review is where the date this template has been endorsed and signed by your PI, okay. So next review date, okay, will be 3 years. Okay, that means this risk assessment form is valid for 3 years, okay, provided there are no changes, okay, in this part here, all right, okay. That means for those researchers, if you are here more than 2 years, okay, once we conduct the risk assessment, okay, it will be valid for the next 3 years. We don't have to do anything about this risk assessment unless, okay, there is a change in the task. Okay, meaning when we do the risk assessment now, okay, and then 1 year later, there are some changes in the task in the sense that some equipment not mentioned earlier, okay, and suddenly your PI mentioned to you that, okay, you need to do further research on your project, okay, by using some other equipment we was not mentioned earlier. Okay, in this case, we have to visit the copy of your risk assessment and add in the task together with the hazard, consequences, and control. Okay, and then change the date of the review. Okay, because there are some changes here. Okay, all right. No worries. I will come to this later when you come and see me for the registration. All right. Okay. Safety infringement. Okay. All right. All you can see here is already put up. Okay. Recommended by the Office of Health and Safety. Okay. So far, there is no need for us to meet out any of these penalties yet lah. Because I think so far, students are quite well, what do you call that? Quite well taken care by the lab, and also there's no serious cases or incidents that happen in the lab that we need to meet out all these penalties. Hopefully, this coming batch of students, all of you, so you can perform as well and as safe as the previous cohort. Yeah. Okay. Don't worry. We'll provide whatever necessary support and assistance if you need from us, okay, in terms of safety, lab, what do you call that, lab testing and so on. Yeah. Okay. Okay. These pictures are taken from our regular quarterly inspection. Okay. In our department, we have this department safety committee, and myself are inside the committee. So we do a cross inspection, meaning our staff or myself will inspect other lab, and then staff from other lab will come to our lab and inspect. Okay, so these are some of the infringement. They are not really serious cases. So most of these things are actually more towards housekeeping, and then improper storage and then improper placement of specimen or item. Okay, right. But over here, the containment in term, this is chemical cabinet. This is quite serious. Okay, meaning the chemical in the glass here, the glass funnel here, actually there is no secondary containment. Okay, so the requirement from OSHA for use of chemical and whether it's handling or storage, you need to have secondary containment. Okay, all right. So I think the picture are here quite clear. What are the infringement? Okay, all right. Okay, obstruction to electrical panel, item placed beyond yellow line. This is strictly for passage. Okay, in our lab we have the overhead crane, right, and also a forklift truck. Okay, so this is where we need adequate space for this transportation of huge concrete specimen or for the movement of this forklift truck. Okay, over here you can see that this student, these are all the tested specimen, tested cylinders placed on the trolleys and then left in front of the fridge. Okay, in fridge here there's some specimen belong to some other student. Okay, and then this one is left in front here, so it's actually blocking or obstructing the access to the fridge. Okay, and also this is not a good practice because by doing this you're actually depriving other users of using the trolley. Okay, so once you have completed your test, you should dispose of your cylinders, cubes, or whatever concrete specimen outside the lab. Okay, outside the lab we have a proper area for us to keep and store all those waste, concrete waste. Okay, and then we do regular disposal of this concrete waste uh, at a quarterly or half yearly basis, depending on the volume. Okay, over here, boxes is placed right. Okay, next to the extinguisher. And food. Okay, they are not. You are not allowed to eat or drink in the lab. Okay, but water should not be an issue. You can. Okay. Although from time to time we do get to see students have a fixed snack, especially the year 2 student. Okay, they came and then a bit late for the classes. So we just what we normally do is that we just ask the student to go out from the lab, okay, somewhere outside the lab, and then finish off the food before joining the class. Okay. This one is actually more to the researcher room where there is researchers located and sit. Okay, so probably this researcher bought it outside and then bring it to the office and then for his lunch or even breakfast. Okay, so this is not allowed actually here. Okay, all right. Over here, outside here, you can see that, okay, our EW1 is actually to the right over here, to the right side of this picture. What you can see here is actually this assembly point, okay? And this assembly point is number 35. Okay, in case of emergency, while working in the building or any building in W1, E1A, or even E1, so if there's a siren, okay, there may be some emergency somewhere. So this is where everyone in the building need to assemble. Okay, all right. And the emergency contact numbers are here. So all these emergency numbers, okay, we have a poster pasted in most of the location in W1 in our lab, okay, to help you with these contact numbers in case there is any emergency. All right. Okay, we go on to mandatory online safety training. Okay, luminous. Okay, for both experimental and numerical project, if you are doing both, okay, for all new lab users, okay, you have to take this OSH Gen 06 module. Okay, this module is on risk assessment management training. Okay, right? Regardless of whether you're doing experimental or numerical, you still need to take this module. Okay. For those, as I mentioned earlier, those working with chemicals, if you plan to work with chemicals and your PI has already confirmed that, okay, he wants you to work with some chemical product, okay, you need to take this OSHCHM01, okay, all right. If you are not doing or working with any chemical, then you can skip this one. Okay, OSH Gen 04. Okay, this for respirator production program for first-time user of N95 working with cement or free silica for your experimental project. Okay, all right, more or less, I think in this module, they will show you to go about how to go about proper way of like putting on a N95 mask, okay, and why you need to put on and so on, so on. Okay. Okay. All right, for OSH Gen 01, okay, this applicable to only new research staff. Okay, I'm not sure whether this module is still valid or still available at Luminous, because I got to know recently that some PI tried to take this model, but it's already been removed. Okay, so if reconfirm been removed, so if you are a new research staff, then you don't have to take this one. Okay, this one is online fire safety training. Okay, mandatory for new research staff only. FYP, okay, this one FYP no need to take. This one number 5, FYP also no need to take. Okay, new research staff only. All right, we are I think they are referring for permanent research staff. Okay, I think BTech. I'm not sure whether those BTech they need to take or not. Yeah. Okay. Let me check for you. Okay. All right. Okay, the last one is a CPR and AED online training. Okay, this one is optional. Okay, but it's encouraged if let's say you wish to take online. Okay, it's only for the research staff, new research staff. Okay, but it's not mandatory, right? Okay. Okay, for general laboratory operation. Okay. For new lab users, for FYP researchers, and also maybe not applicable to BTech, I'm not sure, because BTech normally they don't come here too often. Okay, all right, I'll come to BTech later on. Okay, the lab provide lockers, personal lockers. Okay, you can approach our staff, Mr. Ambing Un. Okay, he's at EW101, room number 6. Okay, so these lockers are all number lock. Okay, so what we do normally, we'll ask the previous user to vacate their locker to allow for new users, those who need lockers. Okay, you can see Mr. Ang, and then to request for this locker to be open, and then you have to create your own number lock. Okay, all right. So in any situation that somehow you forgot your number, okay, you can always approach Mr. Ang. He has the master key to open for you. Okay, I'll show you a picture of the this locker later on. So for PPE, okay, you can approach our staff, Mr. O Sing Hua, at EW10102. Okay, so most of the time, the PPE that is most commonly used in this lab is actually those nitrile glove, cotton glove, safety shoe. I'll come to that later on. Helmet if you need to work in the testing frame. Okay, and the mask. Okay, the two type of masks. Okay. Okay. For those doing experimental work, and if your project need you to do casting, okay, casting of concrete material, okay, you need to book and record the details and use of concrete mixers. Okay, outside room EW10102, outside Mr. O Sing Hua room, there's a booking file. Okay, so you can approach him and then to register, okay, the date that you need to use the concrete mixer. Okay. Okay, there will be no casting operation after office hours and during the weekends unless approved by lab supervisor. Okay, this one we don't encourage. Okay, because we don't work, staff don't work on Saturdays and Sundays. Okay, except for BTech. Okay, so BTech, okay, if possible, you have to do any casting activities during the weekdays. Okay, all right, because you need to demold the next day. So if you cast on a Saturday, so you can only come back on Monday, because Sunday we don't open the lab, definitely. Okay, so for BTech, if you need to come back on a Saturday, you have to email Mr. Stanley Wong and then copy to me and your PI, okay, to get approval from your PI. Okay, and then we'll arrange for staff who are available to come back on that Saturday to open the lab for you. Okay, BTech student, take note of this one. Okay, right? So in case, okay, let's say there are some cases and requests in the past where students still need to come back on a Sunday. Okay, these are especially so for those that needs to collect data consistently, okay, over a period of time. Okay, let's say they need to collect every 12 hour and so on, or 8 hours. So sometimes they need to collect for the next 3 days. So you have to continue from the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? So only for these kind of exceptional cases, okay, also approved by lab supervisor, then we will allow for the student to come back and then we'll give them access to the lab. Okay, so this will be a case by case basis. All right, not for everybody. And strictly for collecting of data and monitor reading from device or equipment only. All right. Okay, EPP room. We have this EPP room where we have our computing facilities. Okay, like currently our design project student, they are using the room, and then some of them actually they have their PCs running. And if you happen to work in this room, okay, for some reason, the same thing, you are not allowed to bring any food or drinks into the room and then not to consume them, okay? All right, water only will be allowed. Okay, for FYP, okay, if you need to buy consumable for your project, okay, you need to get a code from your supplier, okay, and then also get approval from your PI. Okay, each FYP they are given allocated with a budget of $300 per student. Of course, in some cases, some students may need more than 300. So this is where your PI will try to gather a few students, okay, 2 or 3 students in order to make sure that you meet the requirement, okay, for the purchase that you want to do. Okay, all right. Research staff and research student, okay, you have a $500 charged to your PI and research project fund. Okay, for this one, for the FYP, like this $300 also will cover the safety shoe that you're going to buy later on. Okay, if you need to work in the lab, you need to put on a safety shoe. Okay, but for those who already have their own safety shoe, or maybe you prefer to buy outside, okay, so you have the option to do that. Okay, all right. And the government department is going off giving a one-off full payment for the safety shoe. Okay, the cost of the safety shoe this year is $68. Okay, so with this 50% subsidy, you will need to pay $34, and the balance will be paid by the department from this allocated fund here. Okay. Okay, I mentioned earlier, working after hours is strictly not allowed, okay, unless approved by lab supervisor. Okay, if you need to come back, they should have a buddy system implementation, okay, and then access granted on case by case basis. Okay, these are lab lockers, you can see there. All right. Okay, safety shoe. Okay, for all those safety shoe, once you have your safety shoe, okay, we'll give you a pin marker. You need to indicate behind the shoe your initial, so that, because most of all the shoes that looks the same, okay, only difference in sizes. So this also to distinguish that, okay, this safety shoe is still being used, okay, it kept in this rack, okay, and then belong to the owner, whoever is YY and so on, so on. Yeah, okay, all right. So that not those that did not identify your safety shoe, your initial, the lab will not be responsible in case, okay, your safety shoe is being used or stolen. All right. Okay. Okay. We also have another area where we put a used safety shoe. Okay, over you can see the notice. This safety shoe actually more for recycling. Okay. Um, there are some students actually use the safety shoe just for maybe less than 5 or 10 times, because their project does not require them to come to the lab that often. So this group of safety shoes are still in very good condition. So what we do in the lab is actually we bring over to another shelf here, okay, and then we put a notice, if you are okay to wear a recycled shoe, then you don't have to fork out these $34 to buy a new shoe. You can always use whatever available here, the sizes indicated behind here. Okay, all right, you're free to use up this one, no problem. Okay, for concreting project, okay, you are required to furnish the authorization form for health service and to submit to UHC. Okay, right. Okay, in this form, okay, you need to declare your health, okay, your health condition, okay, for working with cement and free silica, and then it need to be approved by your PI. Okay, so this form, this authorization form for health service, you need to get your PI to sign. Okay, right. The second form for the UHC is the statutory medical risk assessment form. Okay, this is to declare the history of your medical condition. Okay, so maybe some of you have been admitted to hospital before. Some of you may have current illnesses. Okay, all this you need to declare, because for example, some years back, I have this 2 or 3 students who have asthma. So what happened is that because they still need to do their experimental project, so because of their health condition, I get the approval from PI to allow them not to be involved during the casting process or any casting activity. Okay, meaning their specimen will be prepared together by other students in the same group of the PI. Okay, so they only get to do the testing and collection of data. Yes, this is because of the medical condition, and then we don't want to trigger any of the illnesses, current illnesses that they have. Okay, all right. Of course, this one has to be agreeable between the student, the group members, and also the PI. Okay, appointment to USC for the fit test. Okay, fit test is, remember earlier on I mentioned regarding the N95 mask. Okay, you need to do a fit test at UHC. Okay, and then medical examination if your lab requires you to work with cement and free silica. Okay, that means you have to do this both. Okay, for those doing non computing project, so if let's say your project, you need to do some tests on metal bars or steel section and so on does not expose you to any cement or silica, then you don't have to do this medical examination or the fit test. Okay, this one is for only those doing concreting and concreting work and also silica, exposure to silica. Okay, meaning you have to submit these two forms. Okay, this first form here and the second one here. Okay, and USC will make appointment for you. Okay, they will tell you which date to come, and once you got the date, okay, you'll come back to the lab. The lab will provide you with the relevant N95 mask for you to try and in USC to check which one fits you best. Okay. All right. We have these two models, 8110S and 8210. Okay. So this appointment, okay, for the fit test actually to check which of this model fits you best. Okay. All right. Okay. So once you completed these two, okay, once you completed the fit test and the medical examination, kindly update record to your safety lead. That means pass a copy, you can just scan or email the scan copy to your safety lead. Okay. This is for the purpose of your safety lead to keep record for all those group members under the PI who has gone for all these medical service. Okay. All right, I mentioned earlier, if you have asthma, special needs, okay, you need to declare your registration. Okay. Okay, for COVID-19, okay. Okay, this was last year. You need to scan entry. I think now no need because every you have all those safe entry with you. All right. This are more for the scan of the safe entry, more for those vendors and contractors who comes into the lab. Okay. All right. So you still need to keep yourself safe. So you need to maintain the distance. Okay, in the general lab area and testing room. These are indicated by the capacity of the occupancy, so the occupancy of the room. Okay, right? Some may have 2, some may have 6, some may have 3. Right? And of course, you need to put on your mask all the time while working in the lab. And we are feeling unwell, hope that you immediately go and see a doctor. Okay, so with all these, what do you call that? This antigen test and so on, I think I think the trend is you need to do weekly, I think, yeah, right? To okay. Now the next slide will show you, okay, PI, name of principal investigator, your PI, and this is your respective safety lead. Okay. Some PI does not have any researcher, so they may have no safety lead at all. Okay, right? In some PI, they have researcher and also senior researcher who can act as a safety lead and also mentor. Okay, but for now, I think for this group of PI, these are the safety lead. Okay, so anything that you're not sure regarding registration, how to furnish the lab user registration form, okay, the medical form, you can approach your safety lead. All right, take note of the name here. And I believe that some of you may have already started to have a group meeting with your PI and other members of the group, right, regarding your experimental project. Okay, lastly, just some safety message, you know, regarding the current situation we have in Singapore and also around the world, right? COVID-19 is avoidable, and you need to break the chain of infection. You all the ministers have been saying this very often, every now and then. Break the chain, break the chain. Yeah. Okay. So we have to be, all of us have to be socially responsible. Okay. We have to do our part and maintain at least a 1 meter distance and put our mask. All right. So I wish all of you stay safe and healthy. Right. Thank you. That's what all. Okay. Anyone have any question? Are you all still there? Any question? Okay. Any question? Okay, if no, then we'll stop this Zoom session now. Okay, thank you very much.
Hello.
Yes,
Will you be sharing the slides?
we have the recorded version. Yeah, we can share with you. I think we mentioned to you that we will share this session today. It's being recorded.
Okay, can.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, the other thing, as I mentioned to you later, okay, I will follow up with another email and I will attach all the necessary form in the next email, okay? So you can take a look at the forms and if you're unsure, you can either check with your safety lead or you can just drop me an email, okay? I will try to assist you, okay? Any more questions? Any more concerns? If no, okay, then I will just stop the meeting here, all right? You stop. I just say bye-bye.